Good morning, it's Trisha. So today I want to talk to you about investing on your own. I know that sounds scary, and a lot of people would prefer just to hand over that part of their life to somebody who's supposed to be a professional. But as studies have shown, professionals, they don't usually beat your standard US stock market index. So today I want to tell you about you know, trying to think of it as you learning more about how to manage your money. And that means investing it in an index fund that's diversified that will allow you to do it on your own. And I know the 1% that most financial companies charge to manage your money doesn't seem like a lot, but over time, that compounded, if you're having somebody manage your account for 20, 30 years, that ends up to be a lot of money. And we don't think about it that way for some reason, but it is. It's a lot of money. And if you don't have to spend it that way, then I definitely recommend you investing in yourself and learning about how to manage your money so that you can save that money and it doesn't end up costing you as much, and that money's in your account to grow. So the accounts that I'm talking about they're called ETFs, and their main purpose is to follow an index, and it's usually the US total stock market. And so they usually have at least or around, well, they can vary actually, but around 500 companies that have to meet a certain criteria. And once they've met the criteria, then they can be in this ETF fund. And it's quite strict usually, and it's rebalanced or redirected every single quarter. So if one company isn't doing well and it stops meeting the criteria, then it falls out of the ETF that you're invested in. So for example, there's three that are all somewhat equivalent from each of the brokers. So I personally use Vanguard's VTSAX, and it's the total US stock market. But there are also other ones, like Schwab has their own SWTSX, and then Fidelity has one that's an equivalent, that's FSKAX. So all three of these indexes follow the US stock market or the Dow Jones index. And what that means is that it's diversified. However, the top 10 companies that they invest in are all very similar. They're your Apple, your Google, they call them the FANGs, those type of big companies, Microsoft, so they're all stable companies that have been, in the US stock market for, decades and have done very well. So if you end up choosing a ETF to put your money in, they're typically very safe because they're very well diversified. So all of your money's not in just one stock. So you don't necessarily need to have a professional manage your money if you put it into an ETF, because rarely do they beat these ETFs. And the amount of growth that they've had this past year, so year to date, is quite astonishing. So Schwab has had a 1.17 yield. So that means that your money's yielding that 1% every year. So whatever you have invested, they're giving you that back in a dividend. But the growth has been 19.16% year to date. So think about that. If you put your money in a money market account, and even those are actually doing pretty well. I mean, if you're getting 4%, so you have your money in a money account as making 4%, but they're turning around and investing it and making 20% or 19.16. They're making that additional 15.16% on your money. So, that's something that you can be making, and it can be going towards your account. So that's Schwab's ETF, SWTSX this year. The next one, Fidelity, theirs is FSKAX, and theirs made 30.90% year to date. That's phenomenal. That's amazing. And their yield is 1.20 on top of that. So to me, putting my money in one of these ETFs, there's nothing that I have to do on my side outside of put the money in and then contribute to it as often as I can. But from just an overall growth standpoint, that's great. And then the third one that I was talking about was Vanguard VTSAX, and their growth this year to date is 25.85, and they have a 1.31% yield. So their dividend back to you is 1.31. So not only are you investing in these ETFs with this phenomenal growth, you're also getting a dividend on top of that. And then what makes these even more special is that they are low cost ETFs. So the expense ratios on them are so low. For example, Schwab's expense ratio is 0.03, Fidelity is 0.015, and then Vanguard's is 0.04. So these are not even a half of a percentage, and you would be paying somebody else 1% to possibly get you something close to the gains that you're getting with these ETFs. So just wanted to give you a little information about, putting your money and self-managing your money in an ETF and how beneficial it can be, because you're not paying a lot of money to be in these funds, and the growth is phenomenal. Now, the entire stock market has been done really well this year, so obviously when it doesn't do as well, these aren't going to do as well. But over time, the U.S. stock market is over 11%. So, I think that's a pretty good, bet on my books. So just wanted to share that with you. I know that a lot of people find it very overwhelming to think that they have to manage their own money, but you really don't. You can put it in an ETF and it's diversified, and you just leave it there and you let it compound, let it do its magic. So wanted to share that with you, as well as, I know people feel like, they don't have money now to put into these funds, and at times are tough. But really, like I mentioned before, if you pay yourself first and you put that $100 into that account and then let it compound, it will be magical, and you will be going back to that account often just to see the growth, because it's quite amazing to see, how over time little monies can grow to be big monies if you just leave them alone. So just wanted to share that with you. Hope that helps somebody. If you have any questions, comment below. Subscribe if you like this kind of information, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.